closer to me.
Jesse, talking to your mic for a second.
Test.
Keep going.
Test. 1, 2, 3.
Jake, say something into yours.
I'm just going to say something into my microphone.
30 seconds delay. Our microphone's-
Jake here with Action for Liberty. What a great day it is. Do you agree with that, Mortensen?
Absolutely. Wonderful day.
It's good to see you. It's been a while. You know, I've chatted with you. I don't know. Well, we go back till, let's see, 2017?
Yeah.
What was it, 2017? And I met you at a coffee shop. I'm like, hey, I think you should run for office. And at the end of
was
that
like,
meeting,
no,
you're
I
like,
shouldn't.
yeah, let's do it.
At the end, yes.
At the end. So we got to talk about your primary race. We got to talk about a bunch of primary races. Last night was the August 9th primary election in Minnesota, where the establishment went full out trying to beat all these grassroots conservative candidates, all these America First kind of candidates. Isn't that right, young Jesse?
That's absolutely right. The establishment did everything they can to take on the grassroots liberty faction of the GOP, and we came out on top. It's beautiful to see.
We gotta talk about all these different races. We'll talk about probably Ilhan Omar's really sore night. She did end up winning, but boy, that was a squeaker. Unfortunately, Liz Cheney isn't until the 18th, right? We don't have.
I don't know.
You don't know this, Jesse?
I don't know either. The sooner the better.
The sooner the better. Yeah, exactly. I thought for last night, I was thinking, oh, is Liz Cheney lost yet? No, shoot, it's not tonight. I think it's the 18th. Anyhow, we'll have to wait on that one. But there's a lot of different races. You're going to find out things on this show that you won't hear from anywhere else, the way that we talk. So I'll tell you that. And then we have to talk about this Mar-a-Lago raid by the FBI. We've got our Stump Trump champion, Jesse, here to talk about it. Also in the studio, we've got, I don't even know who's in that back room with you, Dawson. We got Bridget. Do we have William? There's William. Wave your hands, William. Is Bridget not in there? We might even have Noah coming. Oh, there she is. You know, you got like a dark shirt. Why is she off camera? Why are we looking at William? We should have Bridget on camera. Jeez.
What's wrong? You want to see
There you
this
go.
beautiful
Oh, yeah.
lawn?
Scoot down. Okay. I think I saw the big Viking in the studio here. Bishofsky's going to join us. It's going to be interesting. You're not going to get this information from anywhere else. So let's start out with your race, Eric. You are by far the best legislator up at the Capitol, if I do say so myself, both by scores, LEA, Action for Liberty scorecards. But you also, you're the only guy at the Capitol that actually exposes the swamp. And for that, the establishment hates your guts. And so they wanted to challenge you. And they went all in to try to get you out of office. So how'd that go for them?
It didn't go so well for him. In fact, I beat Bob for the third time. I'm 3-0 against the Swamp. I beat him for the third time last night by the same margin as 2 years ago. But this year, they really came after me. Commercials on Fox News, mailers almost every day. One of them really egregious that I think we've got that we can play at some point. But
Do you
yeah,
have
they
that
went
up?
all in.
Do you have that up, Dawson? Because what I want to talk about is the Jobs Coalition, which is a Kurt Dowd affiliated group, and they ran, I mean, we don't know how much they spent, but probably tens of thousands of dollars, both in, TV ads too?
Yeah, Fox News. I never saw it myself, but I talked to a handful of people who did see it.
Not that, Dawson. Do you have the images Jesse sent you of the mailers? Because we're going to get into this with Mark Bishofsky too. They spent races. No, that's the Mark Bishofsky one. Do you have the Eric Mortensen ones? Did you send that to him, Jesse?
Yep.
Oh, that one. Oh, my God. I haven't even seen this. Oh, that's funny. What's that a picture of? That's good.
That's me in a job site. I like that they use pictures of me maskless in the airport on job sites. They
That
took
is the
picture of
Jobs
me at Tough
Coalition.
Mudder.
The Jobs Coalition, right? You're on a job.
Yeah. You think they'd be supportive?
No, pull that back up, Dawson. I've never seen this because I'm not in the district. We were going crazy. You're pulling everything up. All right, let's see this. Showed up to support wasteful spending, opposed conservative efforts to rein in the out of control. Have you ever voted for spending?
Exactly. They have no attachment to the truth. I mean, when they say opposed conservative efforts to rein in spending, when I'm the only one in the Capitol that never voted to increase spending by a nickel, the truth does not matter.
Yeah.
Not to them.
I mean, those
Right.
are just outright lies.
Yeah.
Right, only person to not spend any of the surplus money, and
Yes.
they're coming after you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says, go back to that image real quick. It says, Eric Morrison is missing whenever conservatives need him to stop the liberals in St. Paul. Like, you are the conservative standard in St. Paul. What the hell are they even talking about? And you refuse to work with conservatives. That's a good one.
Yeah. When they won't let me on their bills, and they're the ones blocking my never again vote and the emergency powers resolution, they're the ones blocking my efforts. So it's ridiculous what they're trying to say.
So how much do you think they spent on you?
Boy, I'm guessing it's between 20 and 40 grand.
And they got a big goose egg.
Yeah. And who runs the Jobs
All
Coalition?
right, we got to talk
We're
about
gonna
that.
get into
I had Dawson pull this up. Jobs Coalition. I'm aware of these guys. Have been around politics for a while. It's a group that's affiliated with Kurt Doubt. You might know him. We've talked about him before. A lobbyist legislator, works for a Washington D.C. lobbying firm called Stateside Associates. He's also the guy that was saying he wears a mask on the House floor to save you, and he also did paid commercials to go get your vaccine. That's Kurt Doubt. That's the House Minority Leader. That's big swamp rat there. So this is the Jobs Coalition, and it's going up through the 18th of July. So it's called the pre-primary report. So scroll down to the Schedule A. So keep going, Dawson. That's just a summary of them. All right, so there you go. That's how they got funded. The RSLC, Republican State Leadership Committee. All their money came from them. In fact, it's even more than that. Post July 18th, they got another $250,000. So they got $750,000 from a Washington D.C. You see it right there, Washington D.C. Big money organization. It's got like Reince Priebus and Karl Rove on it. So it's just a big swamp behind this thing. Republican State Leadership Committee. Which I would imagine, Mort, is like their goal is to get rid of Democrats. You would think that's what they're doing.
You would think.
Maybe they don't even know that this money then got used to go against the most conservative candidates and the most conservative legislator in Minnesota. Now, if you scroll through this, you're not going to see the expenses because all the expenses, just go to the very bottom. Where there would be independent expenditures, right down here, there's none because all those expenditures were done after July 18th. So what they do is they hide their plan and then just blow all the money at the very end. And at this point, we won't know until I think October in the pre-general report how much they actually spent. But what was it? TV ads, radio ads? What did they do?
Well, I know they had TV. I heard they had some sort of internet ads. I guarantee they were out there paying door knockers because we saw paid door knockers in the streets. And I know Bob didn't have the money to do that. And mailers, tons and tons of mailers.
Yeah.
The most egregious one, I think you guys have it, but it showed me pictured with Nancy Pelosi, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Joe Biden, making it seem like I'm some whack job liberal. When obviously, by any objective measure, I've been the most conservative legislator in the state.
All right, so Jobs Coalition is an independent expenditure committee. It's run by John Rouleau. I don't know if Ben Golnick's even a part of it anymore. I know he got a lobbying gig and he's probably sailed off to sunset with that high-paying job. But they are basically independent of candidates. So, and they can take corporate contributions. They can also get funds from Washington, D.C., RSLC. This is a fund that's supposedly independent of Kurt Doubt, but we know who's pulling the strings behind it. So pull up who the RSLC is, Dawson. We went to their website. And on here, so Republican State Leadership Committee, all right, RSLC's largest footprint. And here is the committee. Look at that, Kurt Doubt over there on the right. So Kurt Doubt, lobbyist legislator, House Minority Leader. He's a representative of Minnesota. Scroll down. I think it's about 8 rows or so on the left. You'll see the other person from Minnesota. Oh, there you go. And new. Kurt Dout's biggest ally at the Capitol. So they're on this committee, and they're telling them, hey, send money to Minnesota because we got to win back the House and the Democrats. And then what do? They go and spend it on Eric Mortensen, the most conservative legislator, and also Bashosky and some other races. We'll get into that when we have Mark on. So how does that make you feel, Mort?
Well, I knew it was going to happen. They did the same thing 2 years ago, but they only went in on maybe 2 or 3 mailers. But this time they went in large. And I mean, I have literally heard Kurt Dowd and Ann New Brindley talk about how they're behind the Jobs Coalition, that they started it so they could take corporate money and skirt the laws around campaign finance. So they run the organization. They're the ones setting up the independent expenditures he just talked about. They flat out had admitted it. I've called them out for the last couple of weeks. They haven't denied it once. And you'd think if it wasn't true, they'd at least come out and deny it. But I've heard the words come right out of their mouths.
Yeah, and I don't think it's illegal. I mean, they're just, what they can't do is they run the HRCC, which is a political party unit. So they need a fund that could take corporate money, and they do it from the outside. So that's following the laws, at least on that part. Now, what I think would be problematic is if they spent in races that that there's coordination with their candidates. And that would be interesting to see if that's actually happening. So it wasn't just the fact that they brought in this big money jobs coalition. Like, in your race, they had to bring in the whole swamp. And by the way, we have to mention, they tried cheating. Your opponent, Bob Lunan, who you now beat 3 times, 4 if you include an endorsement, was fined $1,500 for breaking election laws. He was found guilty, right?
Yeah, he was. I'm the one who found his literature pieces on the doors of homes in Shakopee. I called the party and said, I took pictures of it and sent it into him. They filed a complaint because he was misleading voters, claiming, I think in total, 5 fraudulent endorsements, claiming a party endorsement, MCCL, NRA, a bunch of things. And then he put in his piece that he said, re-elect Bob Lunan. Well, he wasn't the incumbent. You can't put re-elect. So ultimately it went to a panel of 3 judges, and they found him guilty on 2 counts. The first count saying putting re-elect on his literature pieces, and the second one being claiming a party endorsement. So they fined him $750 per violation. So it's $1,500, which is a slap on the wrist as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people thought as soon as that happened, he'd be disqualified, but of course that wasn't the consequence. So for who knows how many people and how many votes he won over by lying like this, but $1,500 seems insufficient when you're caught cheating. And to me, Republicans that care about election integrity should never support a guy who's cheating while he's electioneering.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me, I think it was 2012 when the Democrats took over the Senate again here in Minnesota. There's this massive CFB complaint against them where they had these independent expenditures that were coordinated because they did like a photo shoot. I think I've got this right. And they were found guilty, and it was adjudicated after the election. And I think it was a massive fine, like $100,000. But the Democrats took over the Senate. It was like 5 seats they flipped. And it's like, that's well worth their time, $100,000 to take over the Minnesota Senate. So it's actually interesting. You could cheat and still win the election. And especially when you're well-funded, it doesn't even matter. It's like, it's cost of doing business to them. But it's not just the fact that Lunan tried cheating, and like his attacks on you were just just absurd, right? I watched the debate. That's a good debate. Everyone should watch the debate with you and him.
That was fun.
Gotta watch that debate. We should post that on our YouTube page. Gloves were off in that debate. You guys clearly don't like each other. But it wasn't just those 2 things. It was the fact that the whole swamp, the House Republican caucus, like the Kurt Dowd cronies, the loyalists to Kurt Dowd, actually all on board. I mean, I remember back in your endorsement race, Mary Franson had this piece, for Kurt. Do we have that Mary Franson video? I'm putting you on the spot, Dawson. If you don't have that, don't bring that up. We'll have plenty of use for it. You do have it?
I do not think so.
Oh, you don't have it? Okay.
I
We'll
was
use that in
getting
the
excited.
future. You know what I'm talking about? But we do have this whole slew of legislators that are coming out there by Kurt Dout's leader, calling, come to Mortenson's district and let's help our buddy Bob Lunan. And so I get this call from you on, what was it, Monday? So the day before election, right?
Yeah.
And you tell me Josh Heinzman's at your house, Representative Josh Heinzman. And you're kind of telling me a story, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But you're like, I'm going to go on Facebook Live. I'm like, okay, well, maybe there's something there. And then you sent me the video. And it's 16 minutes. You can go to our YouTube page and look at the whole video. But let's just show the best clip of it, right? This is when you thought was most interesting. You want to preview this clip real quick?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay, ask me any question you want, expecting to hear live. Go ahead.
Why didn't you give hands on the first day of session?
Hey, pause the video real
for
quick. So what this is Carrie, this is Mort's wife, talking to Josh Heinzman, who door knocked her, right? Mort's not home at the time. And he's like, asked me a question, and the question she asked is, why won't you give me hands? And a lot of people don't know this, but to get a transparent vote called a roll call vote in the Minnesota House, 15 people have to raise their hand when a legislator calls for a roll call vote. And if they don't get 15 hands, it doesn't get recorded. And so it's just a voice vote, and no one knows how people vote. And this is what they do, is they don't allow Eric Mortensen to have a roll call vote. So Carrie is...
Yeah, and so let me toss something in
Yeah,
here
sure.
because we just looked at these pieces saying that Mortensen blocked the conservative agenda. And now here's my wife calling out Josh Heinzman for blocking the conservative agenda.
I didn't even think of that. That's a great point. All right, let's keep playing.
Amendment.
Eric did.
Should Eric enjoy the benefits of
Why
his
didn't you give
caucus?
him hands?
I'm going to give you the answer. I'm answering a form of question, which you may not like. I
No, I
apologize.
don't like
I'll
that.
get to
That's
it.
a terrible answer.
So your integrity, your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't belong to a caucus, so he doesn't get to enjoy the benefits of that caucus.
So you will only do it for the good old boys.
If Democrats
You will
offer
only
the same
scratch
amendment,
my
should I?
back.
No, I'm
Yes,
not going to
you
offer.
should.
I'm not going to give
Are you
Democrats.
do what is right for people, not what is right for you. That is the problem with the House caucus. Is you do what's right for you, not what's right for the people. It shouldn't matter if it's a Democrat bill or a Republican bill. Do what's right for us. Protect us,
If he
not
wants
yourself.
to enjoy the benefits of serving on the in the Republican caucus, he should join the Republican caucus. You asked me if you expected a lie. I didn't give you one. I told you the truth, right? You don't like the answer, but I told you the truth. So give me another
So
question where you
you-
expect the lie.
You scratch my back, I scratch your back. Is that how it goes down?
You asked me to tell the truth.
I just asked you a question. Is that how it goes? You scratch my back, I scratch your back.
If you're saying, is there benefits to standing with your friend?
I think of that Jim Carrey movie, I Can't Lie. It's like, once you tell Heinzman, you got to tell me the truth. He's very truthful. And it's saying things you've been saying for a long time. It's the good old boys club. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. He's literally saying, I'm not going to let voters know how people vote because Eric Mortensen's not playing the game with us.
Yeah, and I think people need to know what it means to be a friend down there. And he says, well, if you're not going to be our friend, what they mean is that you have to be somebody they can control, that you do what you're told to do. And if you don't, or if you do things without leadership's permission, then suddenly you're just not a friend. And you could be the nicest guy. Like, I walk around the Capitol, I still say hi to Josh Heinzman. I say hi to him every time. Hey, what's up, Josh? He will not even say hello to me. So when you hear him say, well, he's not a friend, I'm pretty damn friendly to the guy, but I don't do as they tell me to do. And then that means you're not a friend and you're not going to get roll call votes. And that's the problem. They're more loyal to their friends, as they call them, than they are to the issues or to the people across the state. And I've been saying it for a year and a half. And the fact that he came to my house and told my wife and admitted it that that's what happens at the Capitol. And at the end of the clip, he says, "Hey, I told you I'd tell you the truth. I just did." So he can't walk it back now. He literally doubled down and said, "I just gave you the truth. So what else do you need to prove?" These guys don't care about you. They care about their friends.
That's right. And he also says there are rhinos at the Capitol. And he's saying, I'm one of the conservatives, but there are rhinos at the Capitol. I want that list, Josh. Give me the list of rhinos. Who do you think is a rhino at the Capitol? Give us that list right now. I'm very curious who that is.
It's a much shorter list to give the non-rhinos.
Right. So, by the way, Carrie did a fantastic job in this. In fact, do you have that image ready to go, Dawson? The one I sent you in the email? Because there's this popular movement happening right now. First of all, Kerry, boy, wouldn't that be wonderful? The draft Kerry Mortensen for governor thing. Now, listen, he didn't know how to respond to Kerry. Like, that's interesting. It's like he is so used to people that don't know what's going on in the Capitol, and he could just lie and say whatever, and they'll buy it. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, my God, this person knows what she's saying, and he doesn't know how to respond.
Yeah, they prey on people's ignorance, and that's what makes them hate me more than anything, because I don't want people to be ignorant. I'm going like almost out of my way to tell the people what's going on, inform people, empower people, and then it's up to them to use that information. And of course, when I come home from the Capitol and tell my wife what's going on, she has the information, so it's great to see her use it. But they're so used to people being in the dark, and they want people in the dark. That's the reality. And the fact that I won't help them hide, they hate me for it.
So you're saying the legislator drove 160 miles to do some mansplaining to your wife wasn't successful?
Right.
That's what I see people. And by the way, watch the clip. It just looks borderline harassment. You have to understand, he door knocked her, and Carrie did a great job. She held up her own. So people are like, draft her for governor. Go back to that image. Do you notice this image cuts you off, Mortensen?
I do.
You did a good job. You've done a good job, but I think most people want Carrie. By the way, in that image, it's the two things you really love in this world, Carrie Mortensen and Miller Lite beer.
That's fair.
It should be Boundary Waters and camping, all that stuff too. All right, we have to play the end of this clip because I am kind of convinced, I'm not certain about this, and let me get your opinion on this before we show this the portion of the video. He didn't know whose house it was.
I really don't think he did. If you watch this full 16-minute video, I don't know how people could think that he knew whose house it is. I mean, maybe he did, and he was just trying to be a jerk, because the guy is a jerk. He's a total punk. He's so confrontational. So when I saw him as I'm pulling in my driveway, I was kind of like getting ready to throw down in some capacity. I wasn't sure how, but
my money's on you, Mort.
Yeah.
But it's almost like somebody knew and sent him to that house, because you see this white vehicle that shows up that's ready to take him to the next house, and his goal, I guess, is to talk to Mort supporters, because he starts out with, I don't know if I'm not a fan of Mr. Mort, and maybe I could change your mind. And it's like, you're like literally trying to change the mind of the wife of Mort. That's crazy. But did somebody know that that's your house and he's like a pawn? I mean, Josh, are you a pawn in some big game here and you just didn't know it? Because now you got this big egg on your face. Yeah. Do you not realize most people have video cameras recording door knocks these days?
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I got elected, we had about 4 or 5 death threats in a matter of like 2 days. So we went, well, we're throwing up cameras all over the place. And now those cameras have paid dividends in the last several days.
Oh, yeah. This video's been viewed like 2,000 times in just a matter of 24 hours. Okay, so we got to play the end. So Mort works for works for a living. So he's coming home from work. This is like right at 5 o'clock. He's pulling in, and Carrie asks if he'd like to meet her husband. Play the video.
All limits, when you know what the limit is for donating to a campaign, you maxed out at what, 2,000? 1,800?
And no corporation can give you, an individual can give you 1,000.
1,000, yeah. Great, yeah.
And Mort says that? Chris says that?
Oh, my husband's home. Would you like to meet him?
Sure, I'd love to meet him.
Yeah, come here.
I think the audio's a little off on this.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Master ring device, whatever you have. So she basically says, "Meet my husband," and he looks behind. Okay, I'll meet him. And at some point, Mort, you don't drive the most common vehicle.
Yeah.
He realizes who's pulling in.
Yeah, oh, for sure. He absolutely realized who was pulling in, and I couldn't believe that guy was knocking my door. So I kind of stopped in the driveway quick, grabbed my phone. I was going to hop out and start taking pictures of this guy knocking my door. And then I thought, I got to actually pull in the garage because I need to actually get an audio of this thing. And as soon as I got out of my truck, he was like peeling out down the road. He wanted no part of it.
Well, we're going to bring on our next guest here, Mark, to join us. And this is pretty much what Mark's going to have to look forward to when he gets to the Capitol. And by the way, Mark also somebody who, like, literally had money spent against him. Like, there's a couple main targets by the Jobs Coalition. Mort, obviously one of them, and, of course, the whole swamp behind it. But also Mark Vyshkovsky, who's the endorsed candidate in Senate District or House District 33B, right? I always forget this. Is it B, Mark?
33B.
33B. Gotcha. And you've met Mr. Heintzman before. When you went to the Capitol, he invited you over to his office. He wanted to groom you early on.
Right. So I was, I had to take these off. So I was at the Capitol for a classical, Liberty Classical Academy, taking some pictures with Kathy Smith and the students, and Eric was there, and he was giving me a tour of the Capitol over the legislative offices, and Mr. Heintzman saw us, and he walked up to us, so I can vouch for Eric here. He would not acknowledge Eric at all. He said hello to me, and Eric's like, "Hi, Josh," and wouldn't even look at you.
I asked Josh, I said, "Hey, you can't say hi to me?" And he turned and looked at me and said, "Yeah, no highs for you."
Right.
They're so petty. It's like a high school.
It is high school at the Capitol. People don't realize that. Don't get involved in politics in Minnesota. It's like high school up there.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, so I witnessed that firsthand. Yeah.
All right, so you're no hero to the HRCC, Jobs Coalition, the swamp. I don't know what it is about you, Mark, but like I think you're a pretty good guy. You're a nice guy. People should like you. They should like a champion like you for health freedom. They should like a guy who had a heck of a campaign going, a big grassroots movement, tons of volunteers, raised $40,000. You should be like their dream candidate, but you're not. Why not?
I don't know. I really don't. You know, I never did anything to anyone. I've just been a compassionate healthcare worker my whole career, and you know, fought for medical freedom, was a passionate fighter for our liberties, and you know, grew and helped to blossom the movement the best I could, and has just been honest and hardworking the entire time. And they don't like me.
Do you have a job right now?
I do not.
Why not?
I resigned my position in an act of noncompliance and protest against the unconstitutional lockdowns and mandates.
And you were a respiratory therapist for like 20 years, right?
23 years, and I loved my job, and I miss it. I loved it. I loved taking care of the people in my community, and I was good at it.
And you became an activist, and your first activism was to hold rallies. How did those go?
They were effective. I mean, to a certain degree, you know, we never got any media coverage, but it was actually pretty ironic. Everyone should know. It's to me, it's special because yesterday, the 9th, the primary day, was exactly 1 year to the day that I decided to become an activist.
Nice.
That was when the mandate floated across my computer screen at work, and I got very upset and decided I was going to do something, and then to win the primary on the 1 year anniversary of that, it being my wife, our anniversary. It was my wife and I's anniversary yesterday as
Happy
well. One
anniversary.
of my top volunteers' birthday. It was a special day yesterday.
It was a special day. So let's pull up that Jobs Coalition hit piece on you. And they went with a certain angle. Mark Vyshkovsky, the Republican-endorsed candidate, is actually a Democrat. Yeah. He's got no voting record, by the way. I love how they're all conservative, like the Tony Jurgens of the world. They're all conservative to them, even though their record's clearly not conservative. But the guys with no records who've actually got Republican endorsements, they literally will call a Democrat. So here's Mark Vyshkovsky, and if you see on the top right here, this is, you just can't trust Mark Vyshkovsky. I thought this was the piece that says says that you're for
Pushing-
vaccines.
Pushed for vaccine
Yes.
mandates. And
Looks like this isn't the
passports.
one. But this is the candidate, Tina Riley, who's a school board member in Stillwater. You beat her 82% for the endorsement. They recruited her. They supported her, like literally had her on HRCC phone calls, training her how to be a candidate, and then basically tried buying that election. You know, that's how we refer to this. I know you're new to politics, but they tried buying your election, Mark, by just all these independent expenditures. And from what you told me last night, you said there was like a dozen mailers in TV. What did they do?
They sent out a ton of mailers. There were television ads on like Tucker Carlson, digital advertising everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, Google, YouTube, all over. They threw the gauntlet at me.
And how'd you do last night?
We won 60-40.
There you go. So these two guys should be state reps. Well, I guess more you already are. What am I talking about? Acting like you're not. It's still like a dream. I can't believe this guy's a state rep. These two guys will be up at the Capitol. Can you believe that? I mean, we still got to win a general election in November, obviously, but there's a good chance these guys will both be serving at the Capitol. And for the Republicans, not the Democrats, right, Mark? By the way, let's get into that real quick. Let's talk about why you're a Democrat.
Yeah.
They took a little piece of information, so there's just like little truth. That's what they need, and that is that you voted in the Democrat presidential primary in 2020. Why'd you do that?
I did that to, admittedly throw the numbers. I got to vote against Biden more than most conservatives. It's what I'm sure some Democrats voted against me last night. It's a tactic Rush Limbaugh coined Operation Chaos, and yeah, I did that. But I'm as conservative, or out of one side of their mouth. So I had volunteers on my campaign that would get door knocked by Tina's people, and they're saying that Mark Bishofsky's too conservative to win, as my volunteers holding the mailer that says I'm a Democrat. So they were saying, Democrat, too conservative. I thought maybe you should pick one, and it would be more believable. But yeah, that's the story behind that.
Yeah, I was looking at. I'm so used to this, so I'm looking at some of the haters on social media, and they're like, "Action for Liberty, far right wing group," which, okay, whatever. That's how they're going to label it, far right wing group. And then you see some Republicans that go, they're funded by the Democrats, and they just want to get Republicans out of office. And I've even heard they're funded by George Soros. It's like, well, which one is it? Far right wing or funded by George Soros? Like, it can't be both these damn things,
I get that all the time. The Democrats say I'm some crazy alt-right guy, and now they got the Republicans saying, oh, no, he's a Democrat. He's an AOC Democrat. Well, the reality is I'm just a pro-liberty guy. Get government out of our way.
God, they must be so confused by the mess. Maybe this is why it didn't work. This is why the Jobs Coalition laid a big goose egg last night, because it's competing with all these other talking points, and people are like, well, I don't believe any of you guys. I'm probably just going to listen to Mark Bishofsky and Eric Mortensen. They're probably actually telling me the truth. And Josh Heinzman, when he says he's telling the truth. Josh Heinzman's very truthful when he says he's going to tell the truth.
Yeah. I got to thank Josh Heinzman. I got to take a special moment. Just thank you, Josh. Thanks for knocking my door, giving me 16 minutes of just pure gold that's going to live for a very, very long time.
Oh, this will be your colleague, Mark. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
All right, so Mark, I came over to your house last night because you're only 3 miles from my house, and great party. And that's the other thing about you, Mark. You had a hell of a campaign. Great. Well, hell, I'm speaking like it's past tense. You're not done, right? You're gonna keep going.
I claim that no one will work harder than me.
Yeah, I think you might be able to claim that. So you had a ton of volunteers, like almost 2-3 dozen people last night at your house.
Yeah,
These are door knockers, awesome people. I've met a lot of them. One of them's here. You got a great grassroots movement, and that is what we need in this whole game. So just south of you is my district. I'm on the north side of that, and that is Senate District 41. And Tom DePel, who, like you, won the endorsement, won it handedly against two competitors, one being Representative Tony Jurgens, who's just like, I don't know how much you know about Tony Jurgens, Mort. Oh, by the way, do you remember at your endorsement, he showed up? Did you know that? Tony Jurgens showed up at your endorsement.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, he stood there in the back of the room. I think he was there to see a show. Lunan always thinks he has the endorsement in the bag, so I think he had some folks there to cheer him on and watch supposedly me go down in the endorsement process. So yeah, I remember that.
I'm guessing you don't interact with him at the Capitol, but on our scorecard, you can go to inmanscorecard.com, and Tony Jurgens is the second worst voting Republican member, the most liberal voting, one of the most liberal voting members. Actually, the worst one is Keith Franke, who was the other House seat in that Senate district and is no longer running for re-election. So yeah, Tony Jurgens, just very liberal voting Republican. So Tom DePel beats him overwhelmingly. I think it was like a 70, what was it? William, you know it, 70-30 or something like that? Do you have the numbers? Is William not in there? I put him on the spot, whatever. So something like it was like a 70%. You got to have 60% threshold. And then what happens? Jurgens just says, well, I'm not going to follow. I'm not going to abide by the endorsement because these guys, all they care about is re-election, right? I was just looking at this. God, I grabbed this quote here from Thomas Sewell. Where is this? Here we go. Thomas Sewell wrote, "No one will really understand politics until they understand that politicians are not trying to solve our problems. They're trying to solve their own problems, of which getting elected and re-elected are number one and number two. Whatever is number three is far behind." And so that's really it. It's like, well, why do you not abide by the will of the delegates? Because all you care about is getting elected. So Jurgens doesn't abide by the endorsement and primaries Tom DePel, and the swamp gets behind Jurgens. And one of the things that you saw, Mark, is Karen Housley, State Senator Karen Housley, got involved in this race, and she endorsed both your opponent and Tom's opponent. How'd that go?
I raised about $3,000-4,000 in the couple days after Karen endorsed my opponent. I had many more volunteers come to the door. Yard signs started just like growing out of the soil for me, and I'm sure I got several votes from it.
Good. So it backfired.
It did. I mean, yeah, and Karen was, I'm not here to bash anyone, but I'm here to tell the truth because that's what I do is, you know, at our endorsement convention, it took her 3 ballots. On her second speech, she's, you know, saying, I can't wait to work with my good friend Mark Bashofsky. She's asking me to go up there and endorse her, which I couldn't do. I wasn't, you know, I was there for the people that supported me, and everyone's got to fight their own battles. And so it was really just ironic to see her come out and endorse my opponent, and then I actually gained from it. You know, I don't know. You know, it's been a bizarre ride for me because this is all new to me. And
Well, I'll bash people since you don't do it. So what I've seen is these people in the Capitol, the way they're treated, their butts are kissed all the time. I mean, it goes right to their head, and their egos just explode.
right, it sure seems like it's celebrity and attention is the most important thing, and
Absolutely.
re-election.
And then they start to think that their influence, like who they endorse, is so meaningful. But when they ignore the will of the people for so long in exchange for just being friends with politicians, like the people don't care anymore. They don't have the type of influence that they think they do, you know, that their ego tells them that they do.
Yeah. Well, Karen obviously has very little influence on her endorsements, which I think are always overrated anyhow. But, I mean, she laid 2 goose eggs last night as well. You know who also who got defeated last night was David Hand, the state party chair. Now, he defended the statewide endorsements, really, which was Wardlow versus Jim Schultz. But there were 2 endorsed Republicans who beat incumbent senators. So Brett Bussman in Senate District 5 and Nurse Natalie in Senate District 54. And both of them lost last night. And that's a rarity. You don't usually see endorsed candidates lose in Minnesota. So this guy who's priding, like, the Republican endorsement so dang important, actually lost 2 pretty pivotal races. And Mark, being an endorsed candidate, did you see any help from the Republican Party?
No, I saw them try to harm my campaign. Is what I saw. I got no help from the party.
Did they do a mail? I mean, I know they did mail, like one mailer. In
Oh yeah, there
last
was
districts.
one mailer that came out with I think it had the statewide candidates and myself on there. So yeah, I guess there was that, and that may have helped some.
I feel like you want to get in this set. Noah, you come on, jump on in. Look at this. We got a treat here. Noah, I haven't even seen Noah for a while. Look at this big old
Yeah.
Viking here.
Figured
Yeah,
this is
good.
probably
Come
the
on in.
best time.
Do we have is the audio going to pick up for Noah? Look at this guy.
Speak loudly.
Yes, that's not a problem for him.
That's my specialty.
This is our California implant or implant. What am I trying to say?
Hello.
A guy from California.
I'm a refugee.
Refugee,
from
there you
the,
go.
The People's Republic of Gavin Newsom.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We talk about how bad Minnesota politics are, and look what you got over there.
built
But
up
you've
a
been in
tolerance.
Minnesota for like a year now.
Just about, yeah, coming up on it. It's been quite a change, especially with the weather. But I've really enjoyed the salt of the earth people that you find across this great state.
Yeah,
I've gotten
yeah.
to see a lot of it, all the way up from Brainerd, Moorhead, Boundary Waters, all the way down to basically the border of Missouri, like in
Iowa.
Iowa. Sorry.
Oh, geez. Oh, look at it. He comes on our
I'm
set
an
and
ogre.
ruins
Yeah,
everything.
I
Gosh,
can't exactly help it. Right,
he's just so passionate, Mark.
it's pouring out.
I like the shirt, by the way, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might know someone familiar with it or something. But yeah, this guy has been one of the best candidates I could have ever worked with. One of the most hardworking people when it comes to the liberty movement. And that's what sets us apart, is that we actually do the work. We don't just send out a mailer or make a phone call to our donors. We actually put in the labor.
Gotcha. So, Mark, they didn't do any. Did they at least do one mailer, GOP mailer for you?
Yeah, the MNGOP did do that one mailer.
One
and
mailer.
I think it had Mayor Zhang, myself, and maybe Schultz. Where there were contested races in the statewide, and myself on there. So there was one mailer, and again, I think that may have helped some people.
Some people, yeah, but
Yeah.
like one mailer is not going to make a big difference in the end, and then they hurt you by actually cutting off your data access, which is absolutely insane. And they also cut off the data access for Brett Busman and Natalie Barnes, who lost last night. So I think when you talk about some big losses, that you got to look at David Hand. Like, you didn't defend these two endorsements, and I just got to go down on his record. And by the way, he's not cutting off data access for the establishment candidates. It's always the grassroots conservatives. I think people see how this game is being played, right?
Yeah, and they just want to
Rhetorical
drive
question.
people away from the movement, or if they would have succeeded against me, I feel, and I got messages and emails from a lot of people like, I'm going to walk away from this party and not vote. Do they want to win these statewide races? What if it comes down to just a few thousand votes? And you've disenfranchised this movement that is just growing and blossoming right now. You need to welcome everyone and unite.
Yeah, aren't they playing with fire here? Like, essentially, these aren't lemmings. A lot of these people are new voters. And so if they don't want grassroots conservatives in the party, they will just not be in the party. And how do you win elections then, right? Like, they go so heavily in for the establishment, who's always going to vote, right? They're always going to be on that side because they're creatures of politics. But it's the grassroots conservatives, these new people, and we know this because Action for Liberty found a lot of these people who literally, if they do this, they're just not going to vote. Or they'll vote for a different, like a third party or something. And it's like, you really willing to play with that kind of fire? And it seems like they are.
It's something that I'm very, very familiar with. I mean, it's why I'm in Minnesota, right? I'm the exact example of the next generation of conservatives that are losing faith in the Republican establishment. California is an example that Minnesota should take to avoid. I feel like a canary in a coal mine talking to some of these people because it was the lackluster, uninspired, compromising Republicans that absolutely destroyed the confidence of the Republican base in California. Now you can't get any turnout, even though we have the most Republicans of any state.
Okay.
It truly is. I want to chime in on this thing. Sorry. It is a club. And I don't mean just the Capitol. Like, the political class is a club. And these special interest groups that are out there generating money and just kissing the butts of politicians. Like, it's a club. And the price of admission is giving up your principles. That's my observation.
Right, and I'm just like the most unlikely person to be sitting here doing this because I've been so cynical towards politicians and politics for the last 2 decades. And nobody trusts. I hear this at the door all the time. Nobody trusts the system anymore. And it's a club, like you said, and it's a famous skit, George Carlin. I'm not going to say his choice words, but it's a big effing club, and you are not in it. And that is just true. It's private membership, and they will do everything they can to keep it private.
Mm-hmm. And then the club wants compliance, and compliance means the status quo. And the status quo is how we're losing this damn country. Hence why I think you guys had successful nights last night, is because there's this like group of conservative grassroots people. They're like, enough is enough. We're done with this thing. Do we have our guys on Zoom yet, Dawson? Have we got them on the line yet?
They're waiting.
They are waiting. All right, let's pull in. This is probably one of the biggest victories of the night, which was up in Senate District 10. This was an open Senate seat, and let's just put it this way: the establishment and certainly corrupt GOP units up in that area did not want these guys at all being victorious. So joining us right now is, do we not have it?
Sorry, they told me they're on, and
They
then they're
told
not
you?
actually on.
That's so unprofessional. Get those guys on the line. Jeez, I had that transition all planned, and now they're messing with us. Those guys are so hard rock, you know.
Paul did send me a picture of a big plate of wings, so maybe he's a little busy right
I don't want. Wait, send you pictures of wings?
He sent me
Speaking the
pictures of
microphone, by the
wings.
way, William. Be part of our show.
now. Can you not hear me?
No, I'm not hearing his mic. Is his mic not on? Is that because he's saying mean things about me in there?
Hopefully you haven't heard most of the mean things.
I think I got you now. Yeah, probably. I'll have to go back and listen to audio. So he sent you a picture of chicken wings.
And a beer.
That's so weird.
Yeah, who would ever thought that?
That's so unlike him.
It's so unlike him. Like, people are just so anticipating who this guy is. Let me know when he's ready to go. So,
We do.
oh, we are good? All right. Coming to us live right now from Little Falls. Go ahead and bring him up on the screen. We have ZZ Top. Hey there, guys.
How's it going?
What do you eat it? You literally are eating a chicken wing.
Yeah, he is.
So that's the guy in red on the left is Nathan Wiesenberg, and to the right of him, metaphorically speaking and literally, is none other than Liberty Longbeard, who together they make up the band ZZ Top. I mean, does not look at that? Look at those guys. That guy on the left is going to be your next state senator from Little Falls, Nathan
buddy.
Wiesenberg. Congratulations last night, and may I say, America.
America. We did
So-
it.
So tell us about how things went yesterday.
How did things go yesterday? It was an anxious day for myself. We did a lot of work to get here. Lots of door knocking, lots of involvement before, yesterday, getting our people in our community to know how dirty the establishment is, talking to people constantly and letting them know if they want change, they got to stand up and they got to vote. So, yeah.
What was nice about last night is, as in contrast, stark contrast to the April 1st convention in Malacca, last night they counted the votes. And so when they counted the votes, and there was 10,134 of them, I think. And they counted those votes, and guess what? When they count the votes, Nathan won. Maybe that's why they didn't count them on the April 1st, huh?
Right?
Liberty Longbeard, I haven't seen you in person for like quite some time. I can't wait till you're back down in the Twin Cities because we got to have you on our show regularly. But let's back up because you got one of the most interesting races ever. You were an activist, an organizer. You were a community activist, right?
Yeah.
And you're a biologist. So what is a woman?
Right.
So you're a really good activist up in the Little Falls area, and you organize very well for caucus night, and a bunch of new people get involved. They come out and become delegates. And what does Morrison County GOP do?
Morrison County GOP, they basically attacked me and You know, they added delegates that weren't there. You know, like you said, I was organizing and holding meetings and telling people if they want change, we got to go out to caucus, and you know, we need to show up. You know, we got a lot of people that are sick of government, and but they're also hardworking, and you know, they don't want to get involved. And part of the reason they don't want to get involved is because of the corruption that happens. And you know, so we were dealing with that corruption from the beginning, February 1st through. Well, it's over now. Well, it's not over, but we had a big win last night. You know, everything that you see is corrupt at this level, and it's got to stop. You know, the money that is brought in from special interest groups and given to, you know, the Morrison County BPOU is wrong, and they're, you know, that's not representing our area.
Liberty, tell me, what do you think is the most egregious part of the finances of Morrison County?
Well, what did he say? 97% of the expenses were for Paul Gazelka's golf expenses, I think. So I know it's like anybody who's been involved in a Republican Party unit, probably outside of Morrison County or I think Sandy County. You know, I was involved for many years, and you get money from people inside your district, usually just convention fees or whatever, and they raise a few $1,000s. They get tens of thousands of dollars from outside the district and then funnel it all to these campaigns like Ron Krisha, who could not get endorsed. He was the only one since Matt Erickson in 2016 to lose an uncontested race at a GOP convention. But Krisha did not get endorsed, and yet the BPOU funneled $8,000 of outside money that they collected to Krisha so that he could, you know, run newspaper ads and send mailing.
Right. The Morrison County BPOU Constitution says they can't endorse a person who isn't, or they can't help someone who's not endorsed. So Ron Krisha was not endorsed, and they still gave him $8,000. So you know, they're going against their own constitution and their own laws. I think
shocker.
They've been doing this so long that we're actually coming in and playing by the rules. We're following the law. We're following the Constitution, and they're not. So they probably don't know what the rules say because they haven't followed them for years.
That's so weird because in the Capitol, I mean, they all follow our state and U.S. Constitution like every day. I've never seen them betray that. So this is shocking news.
You know what's shocking to me is you got 20 minutes on the hottest new political show out there, and Tushy can't even give us 20 minutes of not eating wings on camera. Like,
what flavor are they? If we're gonna watch you eat them, what do you got?
Well, they were cooked on over the campfire last night. Nathan made the sauces. This one is a buffalo, and this one is some of his homemade barbecue.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how dirty that beard gets after those wings. You mentioned Malacca, Liberty. Not everyone's going to understand that reference, so give people a perspective what happened there.
So after we turned out a bunch of people, Nathan, you know, called people, turned them out to the caucuses. They took some names off the list, added names. We got that straightened out. It took months to do that, to finally get the delegate list, and then they didn't want to let us have an endorsing convention, so we had to fight for that. Finally, there was a contested endorsement for House District 10A, a three-way contested endorsement for 10B, and a three-way contested endorsement for Senate. So they decided they would when they finally agreed to call a convention, it was over an hour away from the population center of the district. A lot of people had it from western Morrison County, where the majority of the population of this district is, had to drive well over an hour to get to a convention that started at 6:30 p.m. So they had to get
on
off
Friday.
Yeah, get off of work early. They couldn't have it on a Saturday where you have all day to vote for these things. So they basically got people in there, stalled out, and then they took one. They let the three candidates for Senate speak. Took a vote. Then let the three candidates for, well, they wouldn't let Chuck Perrins actually run or speak, but Krisha, they wanted to endorse him by acclamation. The people voted no, so they had a vote for 10A. They let the three guys for 10B speak. They had a vote for 10B, and then they never once announced any of the vote totals or any. They never. You know,
So they actually
ballots.
have an endorsing convention where their sole purpose is to make an endorsement, meaning people vote and they count those votes, and they didn't count a single vote.
3 hours they had to count 240 votes, and I guess 10 adults can't do that.
And let's just be honest, what happened there? They didn't want you to win the GOP endorsement, and they'd rather just buy the primaries. So this is why I wanted to back up and talk about this, is because Nathan Wiesenberg had to overcome cheating on caucus night, a corrupt county GOP that was totally against him, and this big grassroots movement. Then he had to overcome the shenanigans at a convention that was already like in a ridiculous location, a ridiculous time. They just recessed it and never actually have an endorsement sent District 10 so that anyone can get the primary. And then a Democrat, former state house member with huge name ID in the district decides to run last minute. And it's a three-way primary between you, Steve Winslow, and who's the other guy? Liberty?
That's what everybody else said when we were at their doors. Who's the other guy? I never heard of him before. When the other guy was some guy named Newberger. Sometimes at the doors we call him awesome guys doesn't live that never lived here.
Is that the same Jim Newberger from Sherburne County?
Yep.
Okay.
When we he lived in I think as some of the mailings that went out said Jim grew up in the Twin Cities, bought a large home in Becker in the 90s, and then May of this year changed his address to a church parsonage in our district to run for office here for political power. So,
I don't think people realize this. They literally have people. This isn't only him. There's many other cases. Lisa Hansen, who was running against Jean Dornick, which unfortunately she didn't win, but it's a real true patriot. She's the one that was jailed by the government for not following Tim Walz's orders. Jean Dornick looks like he actually didn't follow the rules and moved into the house. I mean, well, it's obvious. It's a stated fact. He got districted into another district and then moved into the district. If he did it right or not, he's still moving into the district. And there's like 5 of these cases where people literally are just carpetbagging into these districts. It just shows where their priorities are. They'll pick up their family, move. But in the case of Newberger, where was he staying?
He was renting a church parsonage, so a priest's house. And I've literally door knocked every day for 7 weeks up until Sunday. And I was talking to people in that area, and they're like, "Well, he said that's what they've been planning on now." So he changed it to, he's owned his house for 30 years. So he's been wanting to retire from Becker and rent a church house. I mean, that doesn't seem
Be
to make
closer
a
to
lot
the
of
Lord, I guess.
Well,
Maybe it's just
he ran for MN GOP chair in 2020. He ran for the United States Senate in 2018 also. So in 2018, you can, when people were trying to look him up, or we were doing just a quick Google search on the guy, you find all these videos where he's talking about how he's a man of the urban core. He's worked every day for his entire 30-year career in North Minneapolis, and he can tell you every street in North Minneapolis. And then suddenly he was involved with the Sherburne County GOP, and he was running for MN GOP chair. And when he bowed out of that race in late 2021, he put a post on his Facebook page saying, "I'm deeply committed to Sherburne County." And he didn't even just leave it there, where somebody said, "Well, he meant this area or something." He said, "Sherburne County was once a red county, and now it's purple, and it's starting to turn blue. And I'm committed to making Sherburne County Republican." And Morrison County, is this purple and threatening to turn blue? Oh no, it was the number 1 Republican county for Trump in 16 and 2020. So
and that's a great point. And I'm going to bring Jesse back on here because we're going to talk about Trump a little bit. We got to have our weekly Stump the Trump segment. But this is a really conservative district, very, very red, I guess, so to speak, or America First. And that's what's alluring about this is these guys can come there and basically you win the primary, you are going to win the general election. And it's fascinating, Nate. I mean, congratulations, you did it. And I don't know if it's synced in yet, but you're the next state senator.
Yeah, it's probably not fully sunk in yet. It's something, that's for sure.
Nate, we got people in the comments who are congratulating you for your win. Both you and Liberty Longbeard for the hard work you've been putting in. I don't know if you guys are doing justice for just how swampy this endorsing convention was. Bill Paulson is tuning in here. He says they had too many votes in Morrison County and never straightened it out. Can you guys add any context to that?
Well, we have the video, right? We think that they probably we have a video of Morrison County putting extra votes into a manila envelope, so it's probably where that came from. And then blaming me somehow for cheating, which I don't know how I can cheat by getting extra votes in there when we're handed one piece of paper and we write whatever on it and put it in an envelope. So so it was bad.
It's all gaslighting. That's what the establishment GOP does from the top down, right? From David Hand down to Mandy Heffron or anybody else. They say, oh, Nathan's cheating. It's like they're on video, like stuffing extra ballots into an envelope. They said they shouldn't be able to nominate someone who wasn't there at the caucus. Wasn't at the caucus to become a delegate. Actually, if the people who are there that nominated, say, a wife, nominated her husband who was homesick or with kids or whatever, that's totally allowed. What isn't allowed is what they themselves did, was just write down other people after the fact. And anyway, I think that they're probably seething today. And
I think that's an understatement.
Over the next 13 weeks before the general election, we need to get as many barns in the district. And then they can look at that for the next 4 years every time they drive around somewhere.
I don't think I've ever seen a campaign sign with a bearded dude on it, and you did a good job marketing, Nathan. So congratulations. Welcome to Winner's Lane here. I can't wait to see you at the Capitol.
We're going to do it. We're going to make lots of changes happen, and we're going to speak up and represent people.
You're going to make Morrison County great again. All right,
great.
thanks for joining us, guys. And we'll have Liberty Longbeard in studio here when he comes back to the Twin Cities, because he's a riot. Now go wash up that beard. You got too much chicken wing grease in there. Look at that.
When I come in, you're going to have wings for me, right?
Yeah, I'd probably need to get you some wings sometime.
All right.
All right, good to having you guys. Mark, also, I really appreciate you joining us here today. I followed your rallies back at the Capitol and in Stillwater, and then your campaign, and you just done a tremendous job. So thank you so much, and I'm just so happy that you won this last night.
Well, thanks for having me here, and onward to November. Let's win then.
All right, so, and it's Mark for mn.com. What's the
it's markformnhouse.com.
Mark for MN House, and there's still a general election here, so we can't act like he's all done. So, yeah, I'm going to bring Jesse in. We got to do our Stump the Trump. And, Noah and Mort, if you guys want to hang around for this, this is a section of our show where we get Minnesota's biggest MAGA guy, Jesse Smith, who is the biggest defender of Donald Trump. And if you can think of any inconsistencies, by the way, Noah is how do you describe your political beliefs?
I'm a Christian, and I think that means by nature I have to be an anarchist because I have no king but Christ.
All right, so we got Noah the Christian anarchist. We got straight-laced William over there. We got Eric Mortensen, who is out of control spinning Democrat. Who else do we have here? Bridget. Bridget's she's kind of on like the America First kind of crowd, right? You were at, I shouldn't say this, you were at January 6th, weren't you?
Uh-oh.
That means like there's a lot of people that just went to January 6th and was at the stage, so it almost sounds like really bad when I say that, but
Guys, your insults are falling on deaf ears because Bridget has left the room. I'm not sure where she is right now, but your January 6th comments, you'll have to save them.
I didn't mean anything bad by it, William. How dare you?
Well, the Democrats are going to take that and run with it. You pretty much just canceled her right on the air.
You already mentioned Liz Cheney and January 6th. If you get the third piece of that puzzle, I think you might summon something.
William, how do you describe yourself before we label you? In all fairness to you, how would you describe your views?
Well, my political views have changed quite a bit. I used to consider myself more of a libertarian, but honestly, over the years, I've gotten more socially conservative. I don't think you could be ignoring the stuff that's going on in our society, with in the classroom especially. And the libertarian philosophy kind of says, live and let live. I don't think you can live and let live anymore when you have politicians who get into office and just say, well, we can't use that power. Well, we just have to.
All right, so Williams a statist. Bridget, where do you fall on the spectrum?
I would say I actually fall pretty much perfectly aligned with William. I
There we
believe.
go.
Oh, of course.
No, I'm serious. I've always been socially conservative, and I mean, definitely America first. I love Trump, and I hope he runs again.
That's right.
That's
I
a
will
good
be
way to
right
put
there
it.
volunteering
Jesse
for
took
him.
that down right
I'll be
away.
the first one in line.
Yeah. So you're the one who's outnumbered here, Jake.
I mean,
No, I think the Christian anarchist is in the minority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like
Free
Mort.
trade
I'm just a
government.
Democrat, out of control, spending Democrat. And Bashowski's part of our thing, more libertarian-esque, right? I've been a Republican. I love these people that say, "Oh, you're not a Republican." Like I've probably been a Republican a lot longer than you. I was like Bush Cheney in college. Like I was a head of the college Republicans at my college. So I think my credentials are pretty good. But I'm very libertarian-esque in terms of philosophy. So Jesse, before we really do the stump to Trump, we have to talk about this raid. This is insanity. How on earth are we at the point where we're raiding the ex-president of the United States of America?
This is a coup done by the deep state. They've raided President Trump's home. This is something totally uncalled for, unprecedented, something that we've never seen in history. They're claiming that he has documents that are supposed to be given to the National Archive, but there's no way of knowing if that's true because, number one, we don't know what the documents are. Number two, we have no idea if they are to remain classified or not. And number three, this is something that should have never happened. Imagine for a second that Donald Trump weaponized the FBI against Joe Biden while Joe Biden was a potential person to run against him for president. That's exactly what happened. Joe Biden is claiming he doesn't know anything. I'm not buying it. Merrick Garland signed off on this.
You don't buy the fact he doesn't know what's going on. I kind of buy that one. Like
He never knows what's going on, but there's no way that the White House and the president are going to learn about this on Twitter. There's no way.
That's actually kind of funny thinking Joe Biden's on Twitter. Like I literally don't think that. There's not much cooking upstairs for that guy.
I think they just give him one of those kiddie phones that has the 6 buttons on it.
That's probably what they do.
Jesse, I got a question for you. So I'm seeing a lot of people talk about this on Twitter. They're saying this is a step too far. This is political warfare. This very well could lead to a civil war. And I'm picking you for this one because I know you're the most extreme Trump defender here. Where do you think this is going?
It depends on how far the Democrats decide to push this. If they want to try to, because they failed at impeachment. They tried so many times and they could never make anything stick. So now they're trying to go after Trump after he's president. They want to prevent him from running for president again. And there's nothing that they can do actually to prevent him from running for president again because the Constitution is very clear. There's not that many requirements to run for president. It doesn't matter what kind of convictions he has. So even if they decide to charge him with something, even if they're successful, it doesn't mean that they can stop him from running for president. So they're willing to go all out. And, like I said, this is a coup by the deep state onto the American people. This is the common person losing their voice in government. We're seeing these unelected bureaucrats of the FBI deciding what's good for our country when the American people are 100% clear that it's Donald Trump.
What I don't understand about this is I don't see a good out here. Either they have no evidence on them and they just raided the former president of the United States, or they have evidence and they say that to the public, and half the country's not going to believe them. They're going to be like, you just planted the next president. Like, I don't see an out. Like, literally, let me ask you this, Mort. If all of a sudden the FBI says, or the Justice Department says, we found evidence on Donald Trump and he's now convicted of he's going to be prosecuted on a certain crime, would you believe them?
I wouldn't believe him, but I think that we've got a pattern here that's pretty obvious, the way that the FBI has gone after Trump already. when he first got elected, when Obama started spying on Trump, and the Hillary Clinton campaign started paying for that dossier. Like, I think the FBI is like hemorrhaging credibility right now. So I think, you know, the Trump supporters out there are not going to believe anything that happens. But what I would say, that to me, the big picture here is the difference again between what power-hungry Democrats are willing to do versus what Republicans are typically willing to do. Like when Democrats get their control of power, they use it and they weaponize it and they go after any sort of freedom-loving individuals. But when Republicans, supposedly the more liberty-loving party, get their grips on power, they do nothing with it. I mean, Hunter Biden should be in jail, Hillary Clinton should be in prison, but these people are like seemingly untouchable. But when Democrats get their hands on power, boy, they weaponize it and they use it.
Yep, they use it to the full extent they can, and even beyond what we think should be allowable. And you're completely right. The Democrats, when they get the ring of power, they grab right onto it and they don't let go.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure there's 87,000 new IRS agents is going to be used in a very good way, and it's only going to go after the 600 billionaires.
What's going to
there
fix
are.
inflation?
I
Come
just-
on, Jay.
I don't understand why you guys are talking such hate on such a historically progressive organization like the FBI. I mean, for goodness sakes, J. Edgar Hoover,
Yeah.
he was non-binary, right? He wore dresses. So, I mean, they have a long history of, you know, pushing the Democratic agenda and being just
Well, you're
too
just
blue.
you're anti-cop, obviously here, Mr. Anarchist, Christian anarchist. But that is an interesting thing, you know, the pro-police thing. I mean, the FBI is a federal law enforcement. I think most people
Sure,
would say,
but when people say and hear back the blue, they're talking about the common police
Correct,
officer on
yeah.
the road. They're not talking about these federal bureaucrats.
yeah, and I totally agree with that. I'm just saying that in jest. But you know, the other thing that's interesting is not just the FBI. There's a lot of federal agents. I think it was Thomas Massey brought this up in the gun debate that happened a couple weeks ago. Why does the IRS have armed agents? Why does the Department of Education have armed agents? We have a massive bureaucracy of armed agents, and the FBI is probably the king of it, right? That or the ATF. And it's like, holy crap, when they become corrupt, oh my God, we're in trouble. So where does this go, Jesse?
Well, they're going to continue to push it. We'll see what exactly is going on. I've been seeing some theories that Donald Trump was planning this all along, some 5D chess. And so it's something to consider that Donald Trump maybe understood that this was going to happen. He saw it maybe as a potential to rally the base again. I'm sure that some of the impacts of the FBI raid were actually in favor of Republicans. I'm sure that's why turnout was higher than expected. I'm sure that that's why Liberty people were winning, because people saw that the government cannot be trusted. And the FBI, they just proved themselves to be a corrupt institution. This is something that more and more conservatives were starting to believe. But this sealed the deal, because once you go after a former president for BS reasons, we know what you're doing, and it's about to be war.
All right, before we sign off, because there's a lot of people watching live, and the guys here, Noah and William and Bridget and Mort, if you want to, we're going to do Stump the Trump. And this is where, so like personally, a lot of us probably think DeSantis or some other candidate might be better option for 2024. Let's be honest, Donald Trump isn't getting younger, although surprisingly, he looks pretty with it for, what is he, 74? Jesse, how old is he?
Something like that.
You don't know his actual birth date?
He's actually 76.
Yeah. He's 76?
I'm surprised, Jesse.
Jesse, you don't know his birthday?
It was not too long ago. I remember seeing it on Truth Social.
I'm actually pretty shocked. That's disappointing you don't know that. Well, anyhow, so, although I think a lot of us probably are like a little bit more pro-Trump running again after this raid, which might be why you're saying it was 5D chess. But this segment is, what kind of inconsistencies or things that you want to see Jesse defend Trump on? So any of you guys got something for Jesse here? Try to stump the Trump.
And of course, Trump wasn't perfect. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that
Oh,
he
you
was the
are
man
saying
for
that.
the job. And, you know, one
No,
thing I
he's
want to
perfect.
mention is I was at the Trump rally in Wisconsin, which was his last rally before this raid. He did speak at CPAC, but the last Save America rally that he held was in Wisconsin, and I was there for it. And a clip that we had played a couple weeks back on the show where Donald Trump was saying he could step away, he could, and, you know, the Democrats and media will move on to the next target. They'll find the next person to blame. but he said he wouldn't do it. And he said the same thing to us while we were there. And as I was standing in line, 5, 6 hours in the hot sun, you're seeing old people dropping in line. You start to wonder, why am I here? Why is everyone here? Why are we all waiting for so long? And you could see he does it for us, and we do it for him.
Oh, I'm sold now. That was nice. All right, stump the Trump. Anyone got something? Because I got one. If I don't want to.
And one other point.
What do you got, Noah?
Yeah. I like a lot of what Donald Trump has to offer. Even though I'm an anarchist, I understand how reality works, and that means I'm not a fan of Clinton or the Bidens, because killing kids and sniffing them is not in my repertoire. But when it comes to Donald Trump, if he's supposed to be the people's champion and standing up for these people, there's a bunch of people I think have been forgotten, and they're currently rotting in prison from the January 6th insurrection. And Donald Trump has been kind of a church mouse when it comes to standing up for people who backed him.
Okay, Jesse.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I think his plan is to take them all out of jail as soon as he gets in there. He's going to start releasing the pardons. I can't imagine that Donald Trump is going to leave his own people behind. I mean, there might be some people that actually caused some destruction of the Capitol, which is illegal. Things you can't do. You can't break the windows. You can't break statues. You can't do anything like that. But of the people that were just innocently there to protest and stand for American security and fair elections, I think Donald Trump absolutely is going to have their back. Why wouldn't he?
So, no, what do you suggest that he uses,
say anything,
increase legal fees for these?
Say anything, raise money, do something. I mean, he talks about all these other issues. He's talked about, Biden being a doofus, Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan, and all this time you have people that have, been his ride or die supporters are rotting in jail right now.
Jesse, should he be
solitary
should he be doing that? Should he be more vocal and doing something behind the scenes, or maybe even up front to help these people?
I don't have any problem with him talking about it like he normally does, that they are political prisoners that are being held captive because they decided to stand up for their country. So I don't have any problem with Trump mentioning that some more. I think maybe he could lead the charge a bit more, but I'm not. I guess I just don't see the critique that he isn't leading that charge.
Hey, Jesse, I got one for you.
All right, here we go.
So what do you say to the people? I don't know if I believe this myself, but I want to hear your take on it. What do you think when people say Trump's unelectable, I'll never vote for Trump, I was a Republican until Trump came along? Because both you and me and Bridget and Noah have been door knocking for the past couple weeks. And if you guys are anything like me, you've encountered a lot of people who were Republicans, but then they said, I hate Donald Trump because of the mean tweets. How do you respond?
Is that blood coming out of your ears, Jesse?
Well, I don't know how a guy who became president is unelectable. He won one time. Well, he won both times, and we have to play this game now. Let Sleepy Joe run the show. But we know that Donald Trump won, and especially considering what's going on now, Donald Trump is more electable than he's ever been, because we see that Joe Biden has destroyed everything going on worldwide between Taiwan, Ukraine, Afghanistan. It's just mistake after mistake, fumble after fumble. So, if anything, Donald Trump is at his most electable point right now, and there's always going to be some of the haters, the never-Trumpers, the Liz Cheneys, the Adam Kinzingers, but guess what? Those people were never Republicans anyway, because how can you not stand for the person who is individually going after the entire system, willing to take all of the hate, all of the fight from them, and, just when he takes on the entire system takes him on too. So he's got everyone coming after him, but the American people are there. So there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be people that don't like it, but that's too bad for them because we're doing it.
You do need these people, as much as I hate the Adam Kinzingers and the Liz Cheneys of the world, you do need these people in order to win.
We don't need them.
Come 2024, what's stopping the argument of, well, Ron DeSantis is the same policy-wise, he's much more polished, and he knows how to operate in government.
I don't think he's the same policy-wise, and sure, he knows how to operate in government. That obviously has proven to be a bad problem for politician after politician. Donald Trump isn't cut from the same cloth of these people, and the American people recognize that. And sure, DeSantis is a little bit more people may be able to justify voting for him, and perhaps he could get more votes than Donald Trump, but we don't need to water down our message at all. We don't need to put someone else in because regardless of who we nominate, we're winning.
I think you just lost, William. I think you just lost Noah's vote by saying he operates well in government because Noah doesn't believe in government. So, all right, last one here. I was watching Lex Friedman's podcast recently. He had Ryan Graves, a former Navy pilot, on it. Did I see you shaking your head? Did you see this?
I didn't see it, but
Okay.
I mean, I saw it popped up, and I think I'm familiar.
All right. Joe Rogan also had Jeremy Corbell on, who's done some UFO documentaries. There's a ridiculous amount of stuff on UFOs or something that we can't identify, whether that's like drone technology that's way advanced by the Chinese or by the Russians or it's out of this world. I don't know what that is, but there's way too much out there. Donald Trump, of all presidents, the guy that you say is of the people, why didn't he tell us what's going on?
Well, I mean, he, first of all, started the Space Force, which was a lot more transparency into the space systems that we had within the Air Force, and it allows us to do a lot of cool things from there. He did talk, I remember an interview on Tucker Carlson one time where Tucker was asking Donald Trump to release some of these files, and I think Donald Trump said he will think about it and that it's very interesting. So, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I want to know about these aliens. So
Whoa,
I think
did I just
Donald
stump the
Trump,
Trump?
He'll get to it next time.
Well,
Everything Trump says is a promo for the next thing he's gonna say. It's kind of just always leading up to the next sentence.
hold on. I think Jesse did a good job, but I might have just stumped the Trump here. I don't think he gave a good defense on Trump not making this available to us.
I mean, I don't know what's in the files, so I can't say, but, you know.
That'll be your
I obviously
go-to.
wanna
I don't know what's in the files, so I'm sure he's playing 5D chess. Jesse, we know you're doing well on this show. When my mom texts me and she goes, "I'm really liking that Jesse guy." Like, oh my God.
More popular than you now with
More
her.
popular than me, yeah, with my own family, apparently. It's just chopped liver on this podcast.
Jake, we
Come to
do
the
have
defense of,
one
Jesse real
more.
quick. If I'm going to come to the defense of Jesse real quick, I think Trump did technically deal with the alien problem. Wasn't that the whole build the wall thing?
Different alien.
Hey, guys, we do have a comment from Aaron Rasmus asking, how do you defend Trump as third in the largest primary deficit grower? What would you say to him contributing to the high inflation over the last 2 years?
Fair point.
Well, one thing Donald Trump is already promising once he gets back into office is he is going to cancel all of the debt to China for causing the China virus. So that's the first step. We need to have someone tough enough to go in there, step up, and be tough with the Chinese because they're tough with us. So, of course, there was problems with spending, and Donald Trump did his part in shutting down the government a couple of times for the wasteful spending, and he did some vetoes as well. So, I mean, I'm fiscally conservative as well. I would have liked to see it shrunk a lot more, but, you know, when we see that he introduced the nickel plan, which was cutting 5% off of every single department except for the Department of Defense, as soon as he got into office, he immediately showed that he was trying to cut the size of government, and especially the Department of Education. He wanted that completely eliminated.
All right. Aaron, you got to bring your A game next time if you want to stump the Trump.
Next time.
We got to wrap things up. No, you got one more comment?
I was just going to say, saying that he promised the nickel plan seems like a real big sidestep because it's like, of course, I'll take 5% off everything except for the thing that makes up half the budget.
Well,
Like,
I'll tell
that's
you
the
what.
biggest chunk, and he doesn't take it off that. So then it's
Yeah, but you don't even
really-
want a defense. You don't even want a military, Mr. Anarchist.
I want a collective military.
I'll tell you what.
Everybody doing it together, right?
Trump's
Just do your
plan.
part. No.
Trump's plan was more libertarian than Rand Paul. Rand Paul had the penny plan. Trump said, "Let's do that times 500. I'll do the nickel plan. We're going to cut 5%." And, you know, one last thing I want to say about the Trump rally was I was looking around and seeing all kinds of people. There were hippies there. There were rednecks. There were hillbillies. There were bikers. There were, you know, religious people, gun people. Every kind of person was there. And we all united around one thing and one person, Donald Trump and and our country, what we love about it, our freedom. And what I was seeing there was, you know, a grassroots movement that can't ever be duplicated or replicated. This is a unique thing, and so that's why I'm sticking with the Trump train, because he's going to run and he's going to win, and I want to be there for it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. And I'm going to continue putting you on set with Mortensen so that they can't say he's the far right extremist next to you guys. They'll say whatever they are. They just lie, right? Mort, thank you so much for joining us today. A wacky show. It's kind of fun to have these guys in studio, and sometimes you wonder what is right out there. Like if you would have said on Sunday night that Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence would be raided, I would have said whatever. And here we are. So. Thank you to all the people that voted in this primary. I forgot to mention Bill Liskey, also down in Northfield, big victory for Liberty. So good job on Bill Liskey. And all the people that ran, by the way, because there's a lot of people, Larvita and Ashley, and I think I mentioned Lisa and David. Marge Fogelman won last night. That was an awesome victory down in, what is that?
Worthington?
Worthington, yeah, somewhere in that area. Mike Weiner won over in House District 5B, I think.
Yep, 5B.
5B. So, there's a lot of tons of different races. A lot of Patriots stepped up. So I really appreciate these people running. And I'm appreciate all you guys voting. And once again, congratulations, Eric Mortensen. It is so nice to see you victorious for the third time against Bob
3-0,
Bennett.
baby.
3-0. That's right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be back next week with another show with more topics and another round of Stump the Trump. Take care.